All right, welcome back to the Gundam Podcast, where things are a little bit different because our camera setup's a little bit different, our lighting setup's a little bit different, and so hopefully this comes out okay. But we have today my lovely wife, Sunny.
Hello.
And so today we're going to talk about how Gundam has been pretty instrumental in our life, well, in my life. But when Sunny came in to my life, then I would say that Gundam kind of was sprinkled about a little bit. What do you think about that?
About you introducing me to it?
So I guess let me describe it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt that I kind of threw Gundam into our relationship forcefully. And I think that you have been very supportive of my hobby during the time that we've been together. So, but do you feel like you have been forced into it?
No, not at all. I definitely got more into Gundam after I met you, but you weren't the first. Oh, I'm gonna lose my game. I'm playing a game. How long can I keep HARO on my head? You weren't the first one to introduce me to it. I watched Gundam. It's gotta be Gundam Wing in Korea. Okay, I lost the game. And also I remember the Toonami online game where you have different suits and you play rock paper scissors.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's the old like was it JavaScript game or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm not knowledgeable and still am not, but I knew what Gundam was. So our first real date, I guess, was the Origin movie where he also got the clear gun tank and stuff.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I went to that with you because I was already interested in anime. It wasn't just to spend time with you.
Okay. Well, the only reason why I bring that up is because I would say that your support in my hobby is very different from the type of support that couples would normally have. And so we'll let Sunny respond right after this. All right, and we're back for part 2. So I'm apparently not very good at phrasing my questions, so I'm really sorry about that. But what were you trying to say?
I was asking you what you mean the support I give you is different than other couples.
Okay. Well, most of the time you'll usually see people on the internet saying like, oh, I wanted to buy this Gundam stuff, but my wife or my girlfriend wouldn't let me. Or they would say like, oh, my hobby's like too childish or something like that for my significant other. And you'll usually see typically like not a whole lot of support. So you can probably try to answer this in, a variety of ways. Maybe you can deconstruct it in terms of, a relationship question, or you can talk about it in terms of how you personally relate with Gundam.
So first of all, not just for my significant other, but for other people, like friendships or relationships too. So just any relationship I have with people, one thing I want them to know is they can be themselves. And as long as it's not illegal, it's not hurting them or anybody else, then I will fully support it. If it makes you happy, go for it. And yeah, it can kind of get expensive, but I think it's worth it, especially if it's gonna help someone's mental health. But Gundam specifically, compared to maybe, well, of course, like gambling or drinking or video games, I think building specifically is a great hobby that I would definitely introduce to our kids. I think it helps with patience. It helps with mobility, like It helps with motor skills.
Motor skills.
And also, if we're going to be typical Asian parents and want our kids to go into sciences, it will help with chirality in OChem. Because I struggle with that.
Okay. Well, that's one way to put it. So
I see lots of benefits.
Okay.
And
no, that's good. Sorry. Continue.
And the other thing is, because we're talking specifically you here, who is very resourceful, who is very frugal. I guess resourceful kind of goes into like finding the best deals and stuff. So you always put other people's needs first. So if you get something for yourself, that's a pretty big deal and you deserve it. And if you are going to get yourself something, you will do all the research that you can to get the best deal you can. So you specifically, if you want something, like the PG Phoenix, I say get it.
Okay. So I don't think they caught exactly what you said with that last whisper.
Oh, PG Phoenix. It's not $700 or $800 as he first told me it is.
Yeah. So what Sunny has been constantly telling me to get would be the perfect grade Unicorn Unit 3 Phoenix. So why have you been trying to get me to get this model kit for so long?
Well, it's shiny.
Okay.
And also, was it the very first birthday present I got you?
I think it was maybe one of the first birthday presents.
So I recruited a bunch of his friends when we first started dating to help pool money and get him perfect grade unicorn.
Which I'm very grateful for, by the way. Like I really enjoyed it. It was my first perfect grade ever. So of course I was ecstatic.
Are we looking here or there?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
And then you also have the perfect grade Banshee. So you gotta have the Phoenix now.
So it kind of sounds like you like the idea of collections, which is really interesting because you yourself are not a collector.
Yes and no. If I'm an all or none kind of person, and I know that I am, because I know how dangerous it can be for me, I tend to not start collections. But if I have a collection, if I start a collection, oh, I'm gonna finish it.
Okay, so you have to finish the collection, is what I'm really hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that your experience with model kits was very, so now going from the Gundam realm to the model kit realm, your experience with model kits was very minimal before you met me. So I think one of the first things, first moments that you actually engaged in a model kit was, I remember it was after the CTI party, or like a company party that we had, and you built one of the LBX kits.
Oh yeah.
And then the next kit, the next kit that you built right after was, I think, the G Self Perfect Pack. I think you helped me out with.
So you were saying we're going to go from Gundam to model kit, but let me just say one thing about Gundam.
Oh sure, yeah, we can.
At the show, I've been watching anime, way too much anime for many, many years, and we met kind of through Anime Expo connections. So I was already into anime, so it wasn't a big deal for me to try to watch Gundam with you. That's all I wanted to say about that. And I'm not sure if that LBX kit was definitely the first time I built a kit. But you know, I love working with my hands. I love crafting and making things. I was already used to using my hands, so it was very enjoyable for me. And you were reassured of that because you fell asleep and I was still building.
Yes.
But
I remember that.
But the second one I built, I don't think it was the G-Self. I think it was the bear guy you got me.
Oh, that's very, very likely.
Because I remember this was when we were still long distance. the LBX kit was the first and only kit I had built at the time. I was with my mom at Costco. I remember this. It was like 6 or 7 p.m. and you're like, hey, I got you a bear guy. And, you know, it's a new relationship. You want to sound excited about everything. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, I sounded more excited than that. But to be honest, to myself, I was like, I don't really know anything about this. I'm not super duper interested in this. Why did he just go and get me one?
Oh, okay.
You weren't asking me, oh, do you want it? You said, oh, hey, I got you this.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I enjoy building. I enjoy working with my hands. We still have it in the closet somewhere.
I think it's actually under the bed.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess it's not really one of your favorite ones. And yeah, I did make a blunder there, and I should have asked you what you liked or what you wanted. I just kind of assumed that you thought it would be cute and you would like it.
And it was definitely the right first kit to get me because the Gundams are cool. They really are. But they're not cute. So if I wasn't into building and you wanted to try to get me into building, because you didn't know at the time if I was just pretending or if I genuinely enjoyed it, the bear guy was the perfect kit because, yeah, it is cute. And it came with a little guy too.
Yeah, a smaller bear guy.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, that's kind of good to know because it's still under our bed and you haven't taken it out since. So I'm not sure if you actually do like that kind of stuff or not.
Yeah.
Because, you know, each person has their own like preference towards their kits. Some people like them to look cute and some people like them to look ferocious or like cool, I guess.
And to clarify, so you got me that almost 5 years ago. For 4.5 years, it was out and displayed in my room at home. But after I brought it from home a couple months ago, it doesn't really go with the rest of our decoration here. That's why it's under the bed. It's not because I don't love it. It hasn't been neglected for all these years.
Right. Okay. No, I'm sure they all understand. So then, I always thought it was interesting because you didn't really like the content of Gundam. Gundam is very political. It's very bloody. It's very violent. It's very crude sometimes, especially with Iron Blood Orphans. But
fun thing is, Iron Blood Orphans is my favorite one.
Yeah, it is your favorite one, and
I
so
don't think they can see it.
Yeah, I think they can actually see it. I was looking at the camera.
Oh, okay.
But so can you explain that juxtaposition? So you have watched anime for a very, very long time, and most of your tastes tend to focus more on the cuter aspect of anime. So even despite that, you still continue to watch Gundam. Could you help explain that mentality?
Definitely different kind of genre anime than I'm used to. I know why I liked IBO. I liked IBO because compared to the other ones you showed me, it's not part of the UC timeline. I didn't need any background knowledge at all. I could just start IBO and I understood it. That's what I love about it, honestly. And it was the first series we started and ended together. Okay. I guess I didn't really think about it. You asked me to watch it, so I watched it. It's anime, so I'm not completely against it. I can't say I enjoy the show because of how I'm okay with the political part. It's all the dying and the fighting and blowing up.
Okay, well, Iron Blood Orphans definitely has its fair share of dying. So, yeah, that was probably a not great one to start you off on. but you're actually okay with the politics in it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I thought that you're pretty adverse to politics. So that's kind of interesting for me to think about.
So these days I get very frustrated when I hear politics, and like sometimes I have to physically leave the room. But that's because that's real life politics.
So if it's fictional politics, you don't really care.
It has no real world. Actually, you can argue it has real world impact, but yeah, it does not have direct real world impact.
Okay. So then, compared to a more traditional Gundam series, how do you feel about things like build fighters and divers that are very far removed from this aspect of, actual people dying, actual politics, actual real world robots and fights and deaths and that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, I much prefer the build divers, build fighters. It's cuter.
Okay.
It's a little more realistic, I guess. People aren't living. Well, actually, I take that back.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of saying that it's a more realistic show. That's actually a very interesting way of thinking about it.
Because, well, now Japan has the 1-to-1 scale movable Gundam, but
yeah, excuse me.
That aside, we don't have mechs like that in real life. We are not living on Mars and doing space travel regularly and stuff like that. But so that's why I was gonna say more realistic, but build fighters. Reiji is from a different planet, so not realistic.
Right, but you have a model kit in your hand, and you can. It's so I always kind of think about it kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is not really that realistic, but when Yugi holds a Dark Magician card in his hand, you can literally hold that same card in your hand as well. So I never thought about it as being, like you say, a realistic series.
Yeah, you can go to the model kit shop like Dago. You can understand their selection process.
Right.
Yeah. And also, even if your Gundam gets busted, nobody's actually dying, and you can always fix up your Gundam, make it better.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. That's kind of good to know. So yeah, I think it's pretty amazing how supportive you are with all this, because Gundam is a gigantic franchise. There are many different stories. There are many different products that are out, and it spans, decades. We're celebrating Gundam's 40th anniversary this year for just Gundam, and now for Gunpla as well. And so there are tons of celebrations that are out. But I think you've kind of gone through the journey with me as I've, built up the club, as I've tried to expand different aspects of the club as well. How do you feel about that in terms of how much time it takes me to do all these things?
Oh, I think it's really heartwarming to see someone passionate about something. That's the other part of it, I guess. I see how you come alive when you're talking about it with friends. I disagree with what you said, that I was with you through the process of making the club. I was not.
Well, yeah, sorry, I misspoke there. But as I would be involved as the club was growing and things like that.
But actually, now that I think about it, one reason I'm probably so supportive of it is that it was a way for me to interact with your friends too. So that's why I was more open to it, I guess.
Okay.
Looking back.
So, all right. Well, those are all really good points. So I also know that you're active on subtle Asian relationships a lot, and I know that it's very different now, because I see Gundam becoming more recognizable, more global. Gunpla itself is more accessible than ever, I would say.
You can see the target.
Yeah, and so I see a lot of girlfriends and boyfriends posting things, at least on subtle Asian relationships about it. Not, I never really saw that being done as often when I'm, just kind of looking around and seeing, everybody else not associated with Facebook. And so what would you have in terms of relationship advice for other girls or other young women who have significant others who are into Gunpla, or vice versa? Maybe a guy who's dating a girl who is really into Gunpla.
So I think there's something for everybody. First of all, I think it's a good hobby to do, and some of the kits can be more expensive, but there's so many cheaper ones if you're just starting out. And again, there's something for everyone. If you don't like, the Gundam suits, you can get the panda guy, you can get the dog one, and there's different grades too. If you just want to try it out, get a cute little SD, or if you like the challenge, get the master grade. Maybe not off the bat, but
okay.
So there really is a variety, especially because Gundam's not just war and killing. Because of Gundam build fighters and divers, it can reach such a much wider audience that there should be something that you like.
Okay. Cool. So I think that's pretty much it. So out of all the Gundams that we have seen together or that I've introduced to you, then what is your favorite Gundam?
What suit, not what show?
Sure, both.
Favorite show, Gundam Build Fighters.
You like Build Fighters a lot?
First season.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right, cool. So what your favorite suit then?
It's gotta be the Phoenix.
You like the Phoenix a lot. So that makes a lot more sense about why you're trying to pitch the perfect grade Phoenix to me. So what I'm hearing is you like gold things.
Oh yeah, Yakushiki, Delta.
Okay.
Akatsuki.
Right. Okay. So then I also heard that you really like things with wings.
Oh yeah. I love the Wing Gundam.
Okay. So
I'm so happy I got it on the game.
Okay. So that's the other thing too. So you actually play the Gundam game with me.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that experience?
I have, for the last few years, moved from console. I never liked PC games, although I was stuck with PC games because I don't have consoles. I much preferred consoles, but now they're getting more sophisticated and more expensive. So I have moved on to mobile games for a while.
Okay.
And that's one reason I play it, because it's another mobile game to play.
Right.
And the graphics are beautiful, very beautiful. I stopped playing for a little bit because these suits, I don't have an attachment to any of these suits like you do. But it's really, really cool how customizable it is, especially now. The paint job you can do on it, that's changed quite a bit. I don't remember when you started talking about it, but is it the All Gundam project where the actual kit's not in the game, the parts are interchangeable?
Yeah, the All Gundam project.
That's a really cool idea, but if you're like me and can't really visualize how the different parts will fit in, it's really cool that you can do that on the game. You can do Rose and Zulu arms, and you can do Barbados legs.
Yeah,
then
you can see it in front of you. You can change the colors. And then if one part doesn't really look too great, then you can just flip on to the next until you find one that actually does look good for you. So that's good. So are you enjoying it now? Do you think it's more enjoyable to play now than it was when it first came out like a year ago?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so because it takes some time to work on the game balance.
Right.
I still don't feel like it's perfect. I still feel like there's way too much going on in that game. Way, way, way too much.
Yeah, I start to feel a little bit overwhelmed nowadays too. And I've been playing since day one. So
I think they need to slow the game down. They have less things less frequently.
I think so too.
But it's cool.
Yeah, it is a very cool game. Okay, well, I'm pretty tapped out of questions. So thanks, Sunny, for being a part of this. And then if anybody wants to play Gundam Battle, Gundam Warfare with us, I think the next multi-mission is coming out in 3 weeks. So you can work on your suit until then. You can join us. She's waifu and I'm husbando.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But yeah, thanks, Sunny. And thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. We'll see you all next time.